Hi guys, this is part 12 and a half to the video series that I've been doing on the aftermath of the accident where I was rear-ended by a tractor trailer. Anyway, in the first part, 12, and I did talk a lot. I gave a lot, I shared a lot, and I shared a lot of information, and I went over a lot of stuff, and none of it was really helpful to anyone. Anyone watching, it won't be helpful. But for me, it was, I just kind of need to talk a little bit. I need to vent a little bit because I have had a lot of loss this year. Not necessarily loss in the way of family members, but I have had things that I am grieving over. So anyway, in part 12, I talked about grief, and in this part 12 and a half, I'm also talking about grief. And in my case, it's not, thankfully, not the loss of the grief over family members. I have lost the most important people in my life a long time ago. That was my mother and my father, and I lost them a long time ago. So I no longer have the, apologies. Anyways, I don't have the grief over them anymore. I still miss my mom and dad, but it's been a long time since they passed. So I don't have that. I don't have any siblings, so I don't have siblings I can turn to. I'm not close with any of my cousins. I don't really even know them. I don't even know where they are. I wouldn't even recognize them if they walked up to me. My rest of my family, my aunts and uncles, I don't really, one of them died here not too long ago, and the others, I really don't have anyone left there either. Just one uncle and, well, actually, I take that back, one uncle and one aunt and one uncle, the one I work for. But I really don't, but none of them, I'm not really close to any of them, and they're not people that I can turn to and say, hey, I need help. It's not like that. And as I said at the end of the last video, if anyone watched any of that last video, because it's like almost an hour-long video, and I didn't mean for it to be that long. Anyway, I don't really, as I was saying in the last video, I don't have anyone I can turn to. I don't now. I lost a number of vehicles this year. I lost the place I was living, or place I was staying, because I actually have a couple places, but I was living with my ex-boyfriend, whatever, and I lost that. I lost the relationship. I lost the place I was living, at least part-time, or part of the time. I was in the process of, and I live on the Outer Banks, so I was in the process of, my apologies. I was in the process of maybe trying to get moved to the area where my ex-boyfriend lives, but of course that fell through. The relationship fell through, and that's all gone now. We still talk. We're still, I guess, I don't know. He still wants to be friends. I know some people might wonder why I would still talk to him, but I really don't have anyone else to talk to at this point in my life, so I do talk to him. It's not really of any importance, but it's, it's better than talking to myself. And, I've watched some other YouTubers out there, and, they talk about how, they can't really rely on their families, and then they don't have anyone to talk to, and they're talking to themselves, and wow, I'm like, wow, because that's kind of where I'm at. Of course, I've been that way. I'm a loner by nature. I like a lot of alone time, and I think probably a lot of people that maybe are on the road or travel a lot or live in their vehicles, they like to I think they probably like a lot of alone time too. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not them. I know I do. So this year has been a lot of grief, and that's what I wanted to talk about. There was, and I talked about it at length in the last video, how, my last year's birthday party was a bust. It was hijacked. My ex-husband basically hijacked it. you know, I guess going back over a year, it's like all my cars, every car I owned or every car I had, systematically just either quit. They said, the shop said they couldn't fix it, or in this last one it was wrecked, totaled. I know the car's totaled. The insurance company has not contacted me yet, but I know it's totaled. And you know, then last year's birthday party got hijacked, and then, you know, and then COVID came, and then, you know, then I have a friend who, or, well, I don't know what you call her. I don't even know what you call her. Acquaintance. She wasn't even a good acquaintance. But I called her. I mean, I thought she was a friend, but, you know, she wasn't. And that's a tough blow, you know. Those can be tough blows, you know, when you find out the people that you think are friends, or you talk to, you think that are, you know, and you find out that when you find out people that you think are friends are not your friends, they're backstabbers, basically. Because you know, after she made a big stink. And just to recap, so if, you know, you're just watching this, just to recap, so if you're just watching this video and you haven't watched any of my other videos, a few months back I had a person who I thought was a friend, made a big stink about some friend requests she got on Facebook, and started complaining that they were from ethnic men, attributed those friend requests to me. I think maybe a couple of them may have been on my friend list. I do have a lot of people on my friend list that are of other races, religions, and nationalities, and religion, you know, different people. Anyway, but she made a stink about it, and she tried to claim she had 50, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter, really. I demanded to know what these, you know, I mean, if these men were bothering her, you know, why not just block them? I don't know. But anyway, I demanded to know these men's names. I demanded to know the men's names, because, and I would have never referred to them as ethnic men. I would have just referred to them as men I didn't know. I mean, because that's just, but anyway, she made a big stink about it, told me she was going to delete them, and if she continued to get and she basically told me if she got friend requests from anyone, she was going to attribute it to me, and blocked me. And then she proceeded to work a bunch of other people up into a frenzy in the group, and most of them have now deleted me, and none of them will talk to me. So anyway, so that's where I stand. And so if you're wondering about what's going on there, that's, you know, if you've not watched any other videos, that's where I stand on that. So that brings me to where, you know, I'm at right now. I don't have family I can turn to. I don't have any friends anymore that I can turn to. I probably never did, and I just didn't realize it. I mean, you know, a lot of people are walking around probably thinking that if something major happens, they got a friend over here they can turn to, and then in their time of need, they're going to find out that person, they can't rely on that person. And that is one thing about this life, being out here on the road, that I learned a very long time ago. And it's one reason, after my mom passed away and my dad got sick, one of the reasons that I opted to take on this life was for that reason. I opted to take on this life of, you know, I wasn't living in my car, but I did travel a lot. I traveled long distances by myself. And I did that so that I could learn how to be absolutely self-reliant on myself, and not rely on anyone else. You know, just be me and no one else. I knew I had to figure out, excuse me, it's getting kind of late now, but I had to figure out how I would handle it, you know, how I would do it. And since there was no one else in the car but me, I knew that I had to figure it out, and that's the reason I took on this life. I did it after my mom died, so I knew that I could be 100% on my own 2 feet without asking anyone for help. And I've seen some of the posts on some of the groups I'm a part of, and some of the other videos, and I think that probably there are other people that have done it that way too, maybe, but that, for me, that's why I did it, and to be independent, you know. I mean, of course I wanted my independence, but I also wanted to be able to know that I could do it without anyone's help. And I have went through quite a few situations that I have done by myself. In fact, the first 3-car accident, I didn't have anyone to rely on. Nobody. I didn't have anyone. I had to rely on just, AAA, not AAA, but, my enterprise, my insurance company sending someone out to give me a rental car. I had to rely on, So I don't have anyone to rely on. I just had to figure it out best way I could. And, and that's pretty much been the way things have went. And, figure out things the best way you can. That's been, that's been where I'm at now. And, and it's not always a good place. It's not always a place that, you want to be, but it's a place that, sometimes it's a place you have to be in. And, and this year, like I said, grief and loss-wise, pretty much every vehicle I've either lost or, or won't run or whatever. I mean, lost, I say lost because, they don't run. They're of no use to me. People I thought were friends turned out not to be friends. And then I guess the biggest blow is finding out is the only person that I can even halfway rely on as an alcoholic. My alcoholic ex-husband, and who has been verbally abusive, has been, I mean, and that's not a good place to be, but that's where I'm at. And I guess it's better than nothing. Any support is better than nothing. And sometimes he's gotten angry because he thinks I don't treat him very well, and I'm like, you know what? You have no idea how you treated me when we were together, and you have no idea some of the things you've said and how you acted when you were drunk. So I know he doesn't remember it because he was drunk when he did this stuff, but he was. And so now if I say something nasty or snide or I'm not the nicest person to him, I begin to think, and sometimes it scares me because I feel like I'm becoming maybe someone that I never wanted to become, and partly because of life, partly, and I'm trying not to become that person that's just bitter and hateful, to everybody. Because I'm trying not to do that. But I know there are times when I'm not that nice to him, and it's partly because there were many, many times when we were together and many times after we weren't together that he wasn't nice, and no one can say that I don't give as good as I get, I mean, I will, if you throw mud at me, I will throw it right back, and I will throw it hard, because I'm just not one of those people that likes to be walked over, and if you try to walk all over me, I will do the same, but right back. That's just who I am. But, so anyway, I've had a lot of loss and a lot of grief this year, and anyway, in the last video, I started to get a little emotional. I know I don't want to get emotional in this one either. I'm just putting it out there, that when you lose something, there's grief. And in my case, the biggest losses for me have been, the two biggest losses were, one, the car that they told me they can't fix. That's a loss because I've owned that car a while. The second biggest, and the other loss, and it's hands down the biggest loss, at least for me, is the car. I've owned it for almost 14 years, and it still had some life left, and it was the car that I called it was my second home. It was the car that when I wasn't at home on the Outer Banks, I was in that car traveling, going places, working, and that car was home for those times. And it took me to see so much over its 14 years of life. Granted, 14 years of life, that's a long time for a car, and it had a good life. But it had more time left. And then another big loss was, everything that's happened. I mean, you know, COVID came, a lot, you know, but, you know, you can't blame, a lot of people, I know, you can blame COVID for a lot of stuff, you know, being in lockdown and not being able to talk to your face-to-face to friends and family. But I can't blame COVID for the way that my so-called friends, acquaintances so-called friends acted. I can't blame one thing that they said or did on COVID. COVID is not responsible for the way that they have behaved. It's just, you know, you know, and that was a big blow. That was a hard blow because, you know, and when, I mean, I guess I could live in a world of delusion, I guess. You know, there's another YouTuber I watch, talks about people being delusional. I suppose that I could live in that world of some sort of, you know, as long as they were friendly and they talked to me and we saw each other all the time. You know, I could just kind of not really paid attention, you know, and I could live in a delusional world of thinking they were friends when they really weren't. And then that just brings me to my next point where I'm like, how do you even know if someone's a friend? You don't even know. I mean, you know, and they could be backstabbers and you don't even know it. I mean, in my case, she was, I wholeheartedly believe, a racist by her remarks and, you know, and making such a big stink about non-white men sending her friend requests that I don't know what else to label her. I mean, you know, I mean, what other reason could someone be, what reason would someone get so mad about a non-white person sending them a friend request? I mean, granted, I mean, you might not like getting friend requests from people you don't know, but why make a big stink about it? Why not just ignore it? You know, if they try to contact you or talk to you, just block them. I mean, it's that simple. It's not a difficult thing. You know, you don't need to go around blaming everyone on your friend list or just picking someone and blaming them and saying, oh, you're responsible for, you know, Jackrabbit for, you know, or Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse contacted me. It's your, you know, it's your fault Mickey Mouse contacted me. I don't want to hear from Mickey Mouse, so it's your fault. You know, stuff like that. And so I don't know what else to label her. I mean, you know, and either way, whether she's a racist or she's not a racist, I kind of think she is, but, you know, and one of her best friends who also deleted me, I think these women are, you know, they're racist, you know, and they, you know, of course, they're going to act like that they're all better than everyone else and all this crap, but they're not. They just like pretend, you know. That's how I feel. I think they're just a bunch of pretenders, you know, and trying to say that, you know, they don't, you know, they don't subscribe to that view, you know, but it's a bunch of lies, you know. That's how I feel. They're just a bunch of liars, you know. But pretending to be people they're not. But anyway, whether she's racist or not, I don't know. I do know that she whipped everybody into a frenzy and now none of them will talk to me. So she's either lied about me or she's causing trouble. I definitely, and I said this in another video, the woman, I mean, I guess they went without any drama for as long as they could. And, you know, so they had to stir up some drama and stir up some trouble somewhere. And beyond all that, I mean, obviously, I mean, I think she's racist. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. She's definitely, I would say, a drama queen. She is a troublemaker, obviously, because now no one that I called a friend will have anything to do with me. And she's a backstabber. It's that simple. And I mean, and I didn't say anything or do anything that could have facilitated it. I just, one day I get a response. I get a text message from her telling me I've gotten friend requests from ethnic men. I attribute these ethnic requests from you to you. And until I don't get any more friend requests from anyone, I'm going to block you on Facebook. And then everybody else proceeded to, some of them block me and the rest of them just won't have anything to do with me. They don't talk to me. So that's it. That's all done, you know. And I'm like, even if I ever wanted to go back to these venues where my ex-husband or my ex-boyfriend and I go dancing, or friend, you know, other people and, you know, possibly new boyfriends might want to go dancing, I mean, why would I want to? I mean, now dancing was one of my favorite pastimes. It really was. But I really don't want to see people like them. I don't. And so essentially one of my favorite pastimes was also taken from me. And COVID, COVID took it away for most of the year. COVID has taken most of it away. But now I don't want to see these people. I don't want to see people that are backstabbers and drama queens. I don't want to see those people. Troublemakers, backstabbers, and drama queens. I don't want to see those people. I don't want to see people that will block me because they got a few ethnic friend requests. And then say, oh, well, I'll leave you blocked until, I don't get you friend requests. So basically, she's just gonna blame. So now, from now on, every friend request she gets, she can just say, it's Rachel. It's her fault. It's her fault. It's all her. I don't, this person may not be on her friend request, or her friend list, may not be a follower, doesn't matter. Still her. All her. So now, I mean, she's got someone she can blame, for whatever she wants to, blame me for. And she can blame me for whatever the hell she wants to blame me for. I don't care. Because as far as I'm concerned, she's just a bit, that I don't want anything to do with. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't want anything to do with that friend of hers that's also probably nothing more than a Trump supporting racist. And they are, I mean, they're Trump supporters, and I didn't support that man, and I never did. Anyway, and then one of the guys in the group, he turned around because Trump said COVID was a hoax. He turned around and said, oh, yeah, well, we think COVID's a hoax because it's, it's all made up because Trump said it was made up, and I don't respect that viewpoint either. I lost every ounce of respect I had for that man the day he walked up and said that to me. I mean, I lost every ounce of respect. People have died from it, and I have no respect. I have no respect for him. I have no respect for the person that started all this on me. I have no respect for her friends. I have no respect for anyone in the group that support Trump, support prejudicial or racist views. I don't know who is and who's not, but I will say this: anyone who associates with someone like her, they have to be cut from the same cloth, as my mom would say. If my mother were here, she'd say, well, honey, if they're cut from they're cut from the same damn cloth. And let me tell you something. If they're cut from the same cloth, they just alike. And you don't need people like that in your life. And I don't need people like that in my life. And I don't want people like her in my life. I mean, and I have no respect for anyone like that. So, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I've pretty much, my apologies. I have to lean over to turn the light on, because I like the light on when I'm recording. Anyway, so that's where I'm at now. And I've had a lot of loss this year. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, a lot of you that have probably had loss too. Some of you have probably went through the same thing that I'm going through. Maybe now, maybe at some point in the past. You may in the future, probably will. Everybody probably comes to this conclusion at some point. There are people in your life that are just not friends. But, to really find out, to really, really get down to the nitty gritty and realize that, someone in your group, as adults, I mean, and we're talking about women, and I've talked about this before. We're talking about women in their 60s. I mean, isn't that a little old to be, backstabbing and being drama queens and causing trouble for people? I mean, isn't that, and I said this before, that is so high school. That's high school crap. That's the kind of thing I went through when I was in high school, and I was so glad when high school ended, because I didn't want anything to do with those backstabbing, troublemaking girls that I went to school with. And God knows there was enough backstabbing girls. And I will say something else. I probably shouldn't say it. I think a lot of it turned me into a mean girl. But anyway, and that's neither here nor there. That's another story. That's a whole high school story. And none of you probably need to know what went on in my high school. But, these women are too old to be engaging in this kind of behavior. I mean, when I was 14 or 15 and my best friend Lisa, I found out she was the biggest backstabber on the planet. She really was a troublemaker and jealous. Oh, God. That girl was so jealous, it was pathetic. And so she proceeded to cause all kinds of trouble for me. Try to get me in trouble with the principal. Was always trying to get me in, And, we were best friends. And then all of a sudden she just tried to get me in trouble and started running to some of the other girls when I started talking to other girls and telling them I was talking about them behind their backs, Typical high school crap, Typical stuff you see when you're 14, You're a freshman in high school, and typical stuff where, not even old enough to drive. Your parents have to take you everywhere still, and just very typical high school stuff where, you start, causing trouble for those that you're jealous of. But, I mean, we're talking about women that are way too old for that stuff. I mean, that is just way too old. I mean, when you get to be 60 or older, if you haven't outgrown that, then I don't know what to say. I feel very sorry for you if you are 60 or in your 60s and you have not outgrown the high school crap, because that's just, I don't even have an answer. I don't even know what to say about someone like that, because that's just, it's uncalled for. It's just, they're too old. And when you're 14, you can probably pretend like you don't know right from wrong, maybe, or you didn't get a good enough lesson from mommy or daddy. But when you're 60, you can't use that excuse. You just can't. You've been grown too long. You can't use the excuse that mommy or daddy didn't teach you, some life lesson you missed when you were a kid. You just can't use that. It's, there's no way. Anyway, I don't want to drag on this video too long. It's just, I'm at that point where right now I'm dealing with some grief, and it was just today happened to be one of those times when I decided, I want to talk about that grief, because there's many of you out there that, like I said, are going to deal, if not already, will deal with this kind of, the grief of losing an automobile. If you live in your vehicle and you lose it, you're losing your home. And that's kind of how I felt when I lost one of my vehicles. But the one I was in for 4 years. And then you're going to encounter the loss of friends, or realize that people you thought were friends won't help you, won't do anything, won't even, and that's a tough blow. When you find that out, it's a really tough blow. I mean, and if you don't have a lot of friends and it leaves you without any, kind of like where I'm at, I'm just kind of swinging out in the wind. And I don't have family I can rely on. I don't have friends I can rely on. I don't have anyone really, except for my alcoholic ex-husband. And when he's not drinking, I can halfway rely on him. But, get a little support. I mean, and that's sad. That's sad. I don't know what else to say, except when the only person in your life that you can rely on is your alcoholic ex for anything, even a little bit of support or a little bit of help. It's pretty pitiful. That's a pretty pitiful place to be. But, that's where I'm at right now. And so instead of talking it out with a friend or talking it out with a family member, I am talking it out in a video. And I really didn't mean for this video to be a rant video or a venting about things, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I definitely didn't mean it for it to be that way in the last one. And as far as being able to offer any advice on how things could have been different, you know, as far as my birthday going, how things could have been different. I don't know. I really don't. I don't even, I suppose if I sat down and I thought about it, I could probably come up with some ideas on how things could have been different, but it's over and done with now. So, and as far as what this other stuff that happened with this so-called friend, there's no way that could have been done differently. There's no way. What was going to happen either now or later or at some point, and I'm glad that I know what I know now. I now know that, and aside from everything else I've lost, I'm not sure that I even want to go back to any of my dance venues. So anyway, that's where I'm at now, and I'm not going to drag on any further. I'm just going to bring this video to an end. It is getting late. I'm at a truck stop. As I said earlier, my ex-husband is talking about going to a futon shop and maybe trying to get me a futon mattress because we have a frame already, and put it in the house. You know, the house we're at. I don't stay in that house. I only stay in that house. I'm only in that house. I actually take that back. I have no bed or no place to sleep except the floor. So I don't stay in that house. When I'm in town, I just stay in my car until I go home to the Outer Banks into the boat. But when I'm here, you know, it would be nice to maybe have something to sleep in besides the car. This one's not as comfortable as some of my other vehicles. So, and I'm still on that path where I'm going to find something else. Anyway, or I need to find something. Anyway, my truck's still being worked on. I talked about that. Anyway, so I'm going to end for now. It's late. I'm at a truck stop. I am not as tired as I was last night or the night before. I literally fell asleep while I was trying to do some of my edits. And the next video, there's a couple more videos that I definitely want to do, that I'm definitely going to do, or I'm definitely going to do. One of those videos is going to be how I'm reorganizing things, because I'm definitely reorganizing things. So the next vehicle will be a little more organized. I don't want things thrown all over the place like they were in my Focus. Another video, I'm going to go back and I'm not completely done with the grief aspect of it. So I am going to come back and talk a little more about that, but not the grief aspect of the way I'm talking about it now. I do want to come back and, you know, go over some of the stuff, you know, all the, you know, I mean, I don't have video because I didn't do the video back then, but I did do a lot of pictures. I am really love to take pictures, so I'm really hip on photography. I took a lot, you know, I'm going to come back and show you some of the places I visited, at least as far as my little Ford Focus goes, because, you know, that little car's taken me a lot of places, and, you know, I want to go back and I want to share some of that. Whether I'll get back to these places anytime soon, I don't know. I'm hoping, hopefully after everything gets settled, because right now, you know, it's only been like not quite 2 weeks since the accident, or almost 2 weeks since the accident. So I'm hoping once I get some stuff, because I got a lot more to do. I still got stuff I need to do, and once I get that done, I'm hoping, you know, I still have to go back to the to my boat, you know, the boat in the I still have to go home to the Outer Banks, and then once I do that, I can start planning maybe my next trip, you know, and hopefully it goes smoothly. Anyway, I need to eat now. I'm getting very tired. I need to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to eat something. So for now, good night, good day, whenever you watch this, and God bless.